I remember a moment a few years back that still embarrasses me to think about. I had this goal, a really important one. I told myself I was going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and work on it before my job started. I was hyped. I made a whole plan. I set the alarm. I went to bed early. Morning comes. Alarm goes off. I open my eyes. And then, I just didn't get up. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, having a full conversation with myself. Get up. Come on. Just get up. And my body was like, no. So I closed my eyes. Slept another 2 hours. Woke up mad at myself. Felt like a failure. Told myself, tomorrow, for 3 weeks straight, until I quietly abandoned the goal and pretended I never wanted it anyway. Sound familiar? Here's what I didn't understand back then. I thought discipline was about willpower, about being tough, about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. And I was terrible at it. So I figured, I'm just not a disciplined person. But that's not how discipline works. I want to talk about the psychology of discipline, what it actually is, why most people fail at it, and most importantly, how to use it without hating your life. Let's start with a question that might hurt a little. Why do you think you can't stick to things? If you're like most people, you probably think it's a motivation problem. You just need to want it more. You just need to care more. You just need to feel more inspired. But here's what psychology has found. Motivation isn't the engine, it's the exhaust. Let me explain. There's this thing called the friction-reward balance. Your brain is constantly running a calculation. It's asking, how much effort does this thing require? And how much reward will I get? If the friction is low and the reward is high, easy. You do it without thinking. That's why scrolling TikTok feels effortless. If the friction is high and the reward is distant, that's when you struggle. That's the workout you know will make you feel better in a month. That's the business you're building that might pay off in a year. It's about lowering the friction and raising the immediate reward so your brain stops fighting you. Here's an example. When I was trying to wake up at 5 a.m., I was doing everything wrong. My alarm was across the room? No. My workout clothes were laid out? No. My phone was next to my bed with the social media apps right there? Yes. So my brain's calculation was, friction to wake up. High. I have to physically get up. It's cold. I'm tired. Reward. Low. Just more work. Meanwhile, friction to stay in bed and scroll. 0. Reward. High. Of course, my brain chose the second option. Every single time. It wasn't a willpower problem. It was a design problem. James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, talks about this. He says, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And that's the first psychological truth about discipline. It's not about being stronger. It's about making the right things easier and the wrong things harder. But let's go deeper, because there's another layer here that most people miss. There's a concept in psychology called ego depletion. The idea is that self-control is like a muscle. It gets tired when you use it, and once it's tired, your willpower drops. Here's what that means in real life. Every time you resist something, you use up some of that self-control. Resisting the cookie, resisting checking your phone, resisting the urge to procrastinate. By the end of the day, your self-control muscle is exhausted, and that's when you make the bad decisions. So, if discipline is just willpower, you're gonna fail, because willpower runs out every single time. But here's what successful people do differently. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on environment design. They remove the need to make decisions. They set up their world so the right choice is the easy choice. Let me give you a simple example. If you want to stop eating junk food, putting the junk food in your cupboard and trying to resist it every day is a losing game. Your willpower will eventually lose. But if you just don't buy it, if it's not in your house, now you don't need willpower. The decision is already made. That's the secret. Discipline isn't about fighting your brain every day. It's about setting things up so your brain doesn't have to fight at all. Okay, let's talk about another psychological barrier. It's called present bias. Your brain is wired to value immediate rewards way more than future rewards. Psychologists have studied this. When you offer people $10 today or $20 in a month, most people take the $10 today, even though it's literally half the money, because the brain doesn't care about future dollars. It cares about right now. This is why saving money is hard. This is why studying for an exam that's 3 months away is hard. This is why starting that business feels impossible. The reward is too far away. Your brain can't feel it. So what do? You create immediate rewards, not in a cheesy, give yourself a gold star way, but in a real, psychological way. You break the goal into tiny pieces, so small that each piece gives you a small win, a small hit of progress, a small reward your brain can actually feel. Let me give you an example. Writing a book feels impossible. The reward is months away, but writing one paragraph? That's doable. And when you finish that paragraph, you get a tiny hit of accomplishment. Your brain goes, hey, we did a thing. That's the reward. That's what keeps you going. Disciplined people aren't people who can see the big goal clearly. They're people who have learned to make the small steps feel rewarding. Here's another one, and this one's uncomfortable. Sometimes the reason you lack discipline isn't because you're lazy. It's because you're scared. Scared of what? Scared of what happens if you actually succeed. Because if you actually get disciplined, if you actually start waking up early, if you actually build that business, if you actually get in shape, then there's no one to blame. No more, I could if I wanted to. No more potential you can hide behind. You either are the person or you're not. And that's terrifying. Because what if you do everything right and it still doesn't work out? What if you give it your all and you fail? So your brain does something sneaky. It keeps you undisciplined on purpose. Because if you never really try, you never really fail. You can always tell yourself, I could have done it if I wanted to. That's the psychology of self-sabotage. And it's way more common than people admit. So how do you actually build discipline? Not the Instagram version, the real version. Here's what psychology says. Step 1. Start ridiculously small. I mean embarrassingly small. If you want to start exercising, don't say, I'm gonna work out for an hour. Say, I'm gonna put on my shoes. That's it. If you put on your shoes and then take them off, you still did the thing. But here's what happens. Once you put on the shoes, your brain goes, well, I'm already here. And you usually do more. This is called the mere exposure effect in action. Starting creates momentum. Momentum creates motivation. Motivation creates discipline. Step 2. Stack your habits. There's a technique called habit stacking. You take something you already do every day, and you attach the new habit to it. Already brush your teeth every morning? Stack on, after I brush my teeth, I meditate for 1 minute. Already make coffee? Stack on, while my coffee brews, I write down my 3 priorities for the day. You don't create new willpower, you attach to existing patterns. It's like hitching a wagon to a moving horse instead of trying to push it yourself. Step 3. Don't miss twice. This is from James Clear again. The rule is, never miss twice in a row. Missed a workout? Fine, it happens. But don't miss 2 in a row. Ate junk food today? Okay. But don't eat junk food tomorrow. Because 1 miss is an accident. 2 misses is the start of a new pattern. Your brain is a pattern machine. It's always looking for what you do consistently. So if you miss twice, your brain starts going, oh, this is the new normal. And that's how discipline dies. Step 4. Stop negotiating with yourself. Here's a weird psychological trick. The most disciplined people don't wake up every day and ask, should I work out today? They've already decided. The decision was made months ago. There's no negotiation. There's no conversation. There's no maybe later. When you negotiate with yourself, you give your brain a chance to talk you out of it. And your brain is very good at that. So remove the negotiation. The answer is already yes. The only question is when. Let me tell you what I eventually figured out after that embarrassing 5 a.m. failure. I stopped trying to be disciplined. I stopped trying to be tough. I stopped waking up and having a conversation with myself about whether I was going to get up. Instead, I did something simple. I put my alarm across the room. I laid out my clothes the night before. I put a glass of water next to the alarm, and I told myself, the moment the alarm goes off, I stand up. No thinking, no negotiating, just stand. And you know what happened? The first few days, I stood up, got back in bed, but that was okay. I was training the pattern. After a week, I stood up and stayed up. After 2 weeks, I didn't even think about it. I just did it. It wasn't willpower that changed. It was the system. Here's the truth that took me years to understand. Discipline isn't a personality trait. It's not something you either have or you don't. It's a skill. And like any skill, it's built through practice, systems, and understanding how your brain works. You don't need to be tougher. You don't need to want it more. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. and take cold showers and become some kind of robot. You just need to stop fighting your brain and start designing your life so discipline becomes the easy choice. Because here's the thing, your brain isn't your enemy. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to conserve energy and avoid discomfort. That's not weakness. That's biology. The question isn't, how do I beat my brain? The question is, how do I work with it? Lower the friction, stack the habits, don't miss twice, stop negotiating, start so small it's embarrassing. And then watch what happens when discipline stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like just the way you do things. So, if you've been beating yourself up for not being disciplined enough, stop. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You just haven't designed the right system yet. And that's fixable. Today. Right now. Pick one thing, one tiny thing, and set it up so the right choice is the easy choice. Put the shoes by the door. Turn off the notifications. Put the alarm across the room. Decide in advance so you don't have to decide in the moment. And then let your brain do what it does best. Run the system you gave it. You might surprise yourself. All right, that's it for today. If this helped you think about discipline differently, maybe share it with someone who keeps saying, I just need more motivation. And hey, if you set up one system today, let me know what it is. I'll see you in the next one.